Hello everyone and welcome again to lesson 6 of HTML, and in our previous lesson we looked at the CSS background properties, and in this particular lesson we want to look at the CSS border property. And what is a border? The border property allows you to specify the outline line around the element, and the border property is specified using the three parameters. We have the border width, which specifies the thickness of the line, which is the border line. The style, the border style specifies the type of the line, whether that line is a dotted line, solid line, a dashed line, or a double line. And then the third parameter is the border color. So the border color specifies the color of the border line, and the syntax for specifying the CSS border is using the border property and then specifying the width, and then followed by specifying the style, and then followed by specifying the color. So without further ado, let's get started and see how we can apply the CSS border property to our HTML elements. So I'm going to turn over to my Visual Studio Code, and in our previous code you can see this is our HTML page, and this is the style for the about page. And in this about page, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to apply the border to this first paragraph and the second paragraph. So I'm going to have two paragraphs below here, so I'm going to delete even this class name, and this is our first paragraph. So let me add a line break below this, and then I'm going to copy this line and add it so that I can have multiple lines within the same paragraph. So I'm going to add this, and again add this, and again add this, and then I'm going to copy this paragraph and paste it below here. So now when I go back to my web page in the browser, you're going to see that I have this paragraph and this other second paragraph right here. So now I'm going to add a border around this first paragraph and also around the second paragraph. How do we add a border? So I'm going to give paragraph 1 an ID and call it paragraph 1, and then the second paragraph I'm going to give it an ID and call it paragraph 2, and now I have the two paragraphs with the different ID names. And now I can go back to my CSS style file, and I'm going to select the first paragraph, and since it has an ID, I can use the hash and then the ID name, and then I'm going to apply the border to this. So to apply the border, we use the border property, and then the first parameter we specify the maximum width of that length, 1 pixels, space, then we specify the type. So let me say solid border line, space, and the color of the border line, let me say black. And now when I save this, you're going to see that there is a border applied around, there is a line applied around this first paragraph. So then I can also do it for the second paragraph. So I'm going to go over here, and I can also select hash paragraph 2, and I'm going to specify the border property, and I'm going to say 1 pixel, and then solid border, and then color black as well. So when I save, you're going to see there's also a border line which will be applied around this paragraph 2. Then you can play around with these parameters. So let me say I change the thickness from 1 pixels to 3 pixels, and now when I save, you're going to see that the thickness of the first border changes. It increases from 1 pixel to 3 pixels. I can change the color from black to, let's say, maybe green. Now if it is green, you're going to see that the border line becomes green. And then I can change the border type from solid to maybe dotted, and you're going to see that now it becomes a dotted line. And you can as well play and change from dotted to dashed line, and now you're going to see that it becomes a dashed line. So with that said, you can be able to add a symbol border around the HTML element. And with that content said, I want to pause this lesson right here. It was all about adding a symbol border around the HTML using the border property. In our next lesson, we will be able to look at the next CSS property, which is margin. Otherwise, thank you for joining this class, and see you in the next lesson.